Greetings to Dr. Susanna. Today we'll be looking at the case study regarding the murder of Canny Ong. We are from Group 5 consisting of 4 team members, Nurliana, Shaira, Legashini and myself, Kavinita. The victim in this case study is Canny Ong. She's a 29-year-old lady married to a US citizen. She was living in California with her husband. Being the eldest child in her family, she is very much concerned and responsible for her parents' health and welfare. When she heard about her father's rare cancer condition, she immediately came over to Malaysia for her father's cancer treatment. After the successful surgery being done and believing her father is alright now, she decided to go back to California. She planned a get-together farewell party on the eve she departs to California. Unfortunately, she was kidnapped from the parking lot of a shopping center in Bangsa where the farewell party took place. The criminal of this case study is Ahmad Najib Aris. He's a 27-year-old married guy. He lives in Pantai Dalam. He's also found to be a former aircraft cabin cleaner. The crime reporter of this case study is Faye Dekras. Pearly Viswanathan Ong is the victim's mother and Brandon Ong is the victim's husband. Nuri Natasha is the victim's best friend. Nurul is Nurin's blood sister. The victim wore Nurul's jewels and jeans on the day she was kidnapped. Nurin, Nurul and her mother was with the victim until the moment she was kidnapped. SAC Abu Bakar bin Mustafa, who was the head of Criminal Investigation Department, and Ravichandran, who was in the Crime Prevention Patrol Units, were involved in the investigation. Salihuddin Sain was the Deputy Public Prosecutor involved and the criminologist was Dr. Ganesha Ayumat Saad. She insisted that Ahmad Najib was not psychotic but wanted to have personal satisfaction of committing a crime and destroying someone's life. She said that rape was not the only motivation here. Last but not the least, Muhammad Hanif Khatri Abdullah was the criminal's lawyer and Rosa Azimin was the criminal's neighbor. Rosa Azimin said that he was surprised hearing the news as he thought Najib was not that kind of person as he will involve himself in social services and regularly visits the mosque. Let us now look into the case summary. So after the reunion party, Canny, who is the victim, dashed to get the ticket from the car where she forgot to bring it initially in the basement of the shopping center, and that was the last time her mother and Nurin saw her. They searched in vain for her. Upon checking at the parking area, there was no sign of Canny or the violet Proton Terra car. Along with several of her friends, the mother sought help from the security guards and after much persistence they allowed to review the tapes from the closed-circuit television cameras. The video showed that the car was being driven out by an unidentified male at a high speed, crashing through the barrier at the exit. After 3 days of investigating, the car was found abandoned in Taman Petaling. On the same day the car was found, charred remains of a woman were found in a manhole along the New Pantai Expressway construction site at Batu Tujuh, Jalan Klang Lama. It was found after the construction workers observed by a stench emanating from the area. Body was heavily crushed by 2 big tires filled with cement. A half-meter wide board was placed on top of the manhole opening. The body was 90% burnt. It was the stage where the identity was hard to be identified. The hands of the charred woman was tied. It was reported a positive indication of the body was difficult to be identified at that stage and could only be determined by a DNA test. It was taken to the university mortuary for autopsy. Nurul confirmed that it was her after looking at the jeans and jewels that she borrowed to Canny. She was found raped as the investigators found semen DNA in her body. After
Ravichandran, the police officer, said that he was in duty the night of incident. That area is considered as a high crime area in KL. He found the car with a Malay guy and a Chinese lady sitting in the car. He suspected something wrong happening looking the distressed lady at the co-driver's seat. When he further investigated the Malay guy, after receiving both of their identity cards, the guy became anxious and angry. He closed the window and drove his car fast escaped from the police, leaving both of their ID cards. The address on the ID card of the Malay guy was incorrect. They also received false employment details. Police searched his name in the National Social Security Agency and marriage registry. He was identified married and worked as aircraft cabin cleaner. Najib's wife works as a clerk. Police followed his wife at the workplace, and which is the bank and the commute she used back home. Ravichandran, the police officer, said that he was in duty the night of incident. 3 days after the charred remains were recovered, a former aircraft cabin cleaner, Hamad Najib Aris, then 27, was arrested at his house in Pantai Dalam. July 20th, 2003, Najib was found getting out of the taxi and heading home. Police immediately arrested him and taken for questioning at the Petaling Jaya Sessions Court. He was found no past records. Blood-stained jeans and T-shirt was discovered at Najib's house. DNA test proved that the blood is Canny's and the semen DNA was Najib's. The cloth he used to wrap around Canny's neck is a Muslim cloth that he used to clean the window of plane. Rosal Azimin, Najib's neighbor, said he was surprised as well hearing the news. He said that Najib is not that kind of a person as he is active in social services and would involve himself in mosque and weddings. In 2005 trial, which was given wide publicity, stunned the nation with horrific details of the abduction, rape, murder and the dumping of Canny's body into a manhole before it was torched. On February 23, 2005, the Shah Alam High Court convicted Najib of the rape and murder of Canny and meted out the death penalty for the murder and 20 years imprisonment. In 2007, Court of Appeal rejected his appeal. On March 2009, the federal court upheld his conviction and death sentence for the rape and murder of Canny. On October 21 of the same year, he failed to obtain the federal court's permission to review his conviction and death sentence. On September 2016, he was hanged at Kajang prison, bringing closure 13 years after the case.
The investigation of the case. The police start their investigation from a vital clue which they identified the man who was last seen with Canny Ong, named Ahmad Nazir bin Aris. On the night of murder, undercover policeman Corporal Ravi Chandran obtained two ID cards, with Canny's and the suspect. To trace the suspect was quite hard at first because due to information regarding him, mostly fake, such as addresses and falsified employment records. The police then examined his name in the National Social Security Agency and marriage registry to find out his marital status and his job information. From his wife's workplace, the undercover police traced her commute home after 3 days, presumed residence of their prime suspect on July 20, 2003. Around 4 a.m., the police spot the suspect walking to his home. Ahmad Nazir bin Aris then arrested on suspicion of murdering Canny Ong. During the first period of questioning, Najib forced the police to prove if they had concrete evidence against him, and only then he would admit to anything. The police confront him with two ID cards, a blue jacket, a red t-shirt, and a pair of blue jeans, and all stains with blood. After continuous pressure from police, Najib finally confessed that he abducted and murdered Canny Ong. On June 21, 2003, police bring Najib to Magistrates Court in Petaling Jaya to formally record his confession without any legal representation. A lawyer, Rizal Azmin, who also Najib's former neighbor, went to meet experienced criminal defense lawyer, Hanif Khatri Abdullah. Hanif Khatri explained that it is a must for a defense lawyer to find out a relationship between his client and the crime. This is to raise any necessary doubts for the client's defense. But due to the restriction during police custody, To meet lawyer, Najib agreed to help police reconstruct sequence of gruesome murder of Canny Ong. From this, police found concrete evidence to be used against suspect. Day of the murder chronology. At shopping center parking lot, Najib reveals to spot Kenny searching something inside the car and then seizing his trunks. He shoved Kenny into the car before he drove out from the parking lot in a high speed. He told the superintendent that he used knife to ensure the victim didn't escape until they finally stopping in industrial area just outside the Kuala Lumpur. At this time, the Proton was spotted by undercover policeman Ravi Chandran, who took Najib and Kenny's identity card. After the encounter, he speeding away before stop on the edge of a construction site. It was here he raped Canny Ong. Najib then drive again to a quieter place and raped Canny Ong for a second time, and stabbed her twice in the stomach. When Kenny bled profusely he panicked. He then lifted wounded Kenny from rear seat and dragged her over the barrier that separates a road and the construction site. He noticed a manhole with its cover removed, so he decided to conceal victim with it before left Kenny bleed to death. 16 hours later, he returned with a can of petrol and burned the dead body. After the horrifying details he constructed, he faced the judgments of the law.
On September 15, 2003, the suspect, Ahmad Najib bin Aris, appeared in the Petaling Jaya High Court accused of the rape and murder of Canny Ong Lay Kian on morning of 14 June 2003. However, he pleads not guilty despite of confession he made. For prosecution, it's not a good news, as they only have circumstantial evidence, no direct evidence or witness. Trying to seize the chances, the defense counsel tried to undermine the CCTV footage, claiming that the photos are blurred and the exact suspect can't even be figured out. Even the photos were enhanced about 3 to 4 times to a certain size. During the investigation, blood-stained jeans and T-shirt discovered at Najib's homes are crucial to the case. However, the defense team again able to raise a doubt on the validity of the evidence, with stating that no test was done to determine if the jeans and T-shirt would belong to Najib's. But the prosecution able to counter the doubt with more concrete evidence, which is DNA test. The DNA test confirmed that the blood found on Najib's T-shirt, jeans and jacket all belonged to Canny Ong, while the semen belonged to Najib was found in Canny's remains. The DNA proved the killer is Najib. Another vital evidence that seals Najib's fate was a Muslim cloth that was used to tie Canny Ong. Based on investigation from prosecution teams, the same cloth was found at his workplace. The cloth was a special cloth used to wipe aircraft windows. On August 6, 2004, Ahmad Najib bin Aris stand accused of murdering 20-year-old Canny Ong. However, in another trial 6 weeks later, Najib opts to remain silent. By end of the trial, the prosecution able to present undeniably strong case against Ahmad Najib bin Aris. And finally, in February 2005, Ahmad Najib bin Aris is found guilty and sentenced to death. During the investigation, it was also revealed that Ahmad Najib were involved in several rape cases, but the police didn't pursue the case as the victim declined to cooperate. After 6 years on death row and 2 failed appeals, there is one loss of life for Ahmad Najib, the clemency of the Sultan. Before the ruler of the state, His Royal Highness of the Sultan of Selangor, makes the decision whether to pardon him or not, Najib was given permission to write him an appeal later, but his appeal was rejected.